Welcome to the Cherland podcast, where I, Cherland, meet up with a musician, hear about what makes them tick, what kind of experiences they're bringing into their musical journey. On today's podcast, we have Anni, formerly known as Annika Grace, a singer-songwriter based in Venice, California. I met her through her concert series, Saturdays at 7, which showcases up-and-coming artists here in LA. Today, you'll hear us talk about Anni's origin in poetry, being a shy and very gifted child, the understatement of the century, and the vulnerability of releasing music under the same name she's called by her friends, Anni. I hope you enjoy the conversation, and stick around till the end to hear me at the end. How would you like me to refer to you? Annika Grace? Anni?
Anni, I guess? Yeah.
Is that what you prefer?
That's kind of, I go by Annika usually, but for my artist project I go by Anni.
Great.
So.
In learning about you, there's one interview that I was really relying on, talking about your kind of starting poetry at a very young age, switching over to songwriting, learning how to apply those two. So I kind of just wanted to start off with kind of your poetry side as I guess give me an overview on where you find poetry helpful and where you find songwriting helpful, and where do you need to make the switch and be I don't think this works without a melody, or I don't think this works with a melody.
I think because I've always kind of looked at the two almost as the same, because I think that songwriting and lyrics are kind of the same as poetry, because I think they're all kind of coinciding in a way. Yeah, I think there's certain things that just don't work in a song that would work great in a poem, and you just kind of have to just differentiate between the two. A lot of times I'll write poetry and then I'll turn it into a song is kind of how I go about it. So I'll write a poem, which will be mainly the lyrics, and then I'll kind of change them a little bit to be a verse, chorus, verse, the whole thing. And then I'll go to the piano and then write the whole melody out as well. So yeah, all works together in that way.
What wouldn't work in a song that does work well in poetry?
I think certain words, I was in a session the other day, we were finishing up a song that actually was a poem at first, and I forgot the word I used. It was some very proper word. I'm blanking on what it was. And my co-writer was laughing. She's like, I don't know if we need to use that per se, so maybe we should change it because it's a little bit too professional to sing in this song. Yeah. And I sounded I sounded British when I was singing it too, which was really entertaining.
Interesting.
And so just certain words like that. I do like to use bigger words in poetry too, and a little bit more, I don't know, old-fashioned ways of saying things too. And I think in songwriting, you kind of have to make it a little bit more modern.
Yeah.
But also it's okay to use those if you want to. But for the song we were writing, we needed to change it.
Yeah.
So.
That's, and the phrase was bloody brilliant.
Bloody brilliant. I'll have to find it. I forgot which one it was, but I remember she was just chuckling. She's like, that's the only thing that's kind of standing out.
Yeah. This one line that you put in.
This one's just a little bit too.
I know this was your only contribution, but it's just.
It's just not there.
It sounds like your lyrics come before the melody a lot of the time.
It kind of all comes at once. If I'm writing a poem and then turning it into a song, for sure the lyrics come first. Yeah. But a lot of times I'll just sit at the piano and things will just kind of come to me all at once. Mm-hmm. And then I'll write a melody as I'm writing the lyrics, but usually I'll kind of go back and tweak it after because it's not super strong. Kind of comes around the same time unless it's through a poem. So. What
poets really inspired you as a kid?
Ooh, I think I love Don Blanding. I think he's really cool. I love that he's from I don't know the exact year. He's an older poet. Mm-hmm. His books that I have are very old, but he was kind of the first person to really start, I guess, this trend of shorter poems and a little bit more, people used to call it insta poetry, but relatable poetry, I think, that we read these days. Mm-hmm. He started it, I think, in the 1960s or 70s. So he's really cool. I love Rumi. I do love Rupi Kaur. I love all of her books. I think that really got me into poetry again. Or I was super into poetry when I was little, and then I kind of took a break in high school because I was oh, is it cool? And then I got back into it in college. I love Robert Frost, honestly, too. I think he's brilliant. Those are some of the ones.
That's great. I've seen you perform, so I met you at your Saturday at 7 gig, so I've seen you perform. That was my first impression of you as a performer. When you were starting with poetry, were you performing these at open mic nights or something, or what did that expression look like for you?
Yeah, I was super shy growing up, and I started with writing poetry when I was about 6 or 7. That was my first creative outlet. My parents were she's writing poetry? This is weird. at like 6 or 7. And so I actually never performed any for anybody until about a year ago for poetry. Yeah, I expressed it all the time. I'd do a book every year for Christmas for anyone who wanted one of all my poems since I was like 10 or 15.
That's crazy.
So I was always comfortable with them, but performing wise, I was very shy as a child. And I've gotten out of that shell through songwriting and music, but I guess the spoken word aspect of it I'm still working on. So yeah.
That's really impressive. Right, making books for people for Christmas. You would just like hand write them and like staple them yourself, or you would like go somewhere?
So both my parents are writers, so they already knew. My dad owns a graphic design company, and he literally would like make this book. So he would like get the pages printed and then make this cute little cover. Yeah, it was very cute. It's kind of like a family affair, but
amazing. Dad, graphic designer. Was your mom also a writer, or She was a writer. She's written a few books. None are out right now, but she's always loved writing. So it was always kind of like pushed into me to really write. I think since from a young age, they've always like super been encouraged to. I think even in high school, like I was going to high school for 2 years, and then I wanted to do online high school to focus on songwriting and writing, and they were very supportive of that. Wow. So they've always kind of been like, we want you to write, like keep going. So it's nice, yeah. Did you ask your parents to be in online high school?
I did. So me and my best friend, she wanted to travel more. I wanted to travel more, but I also wanted to do songwriting, and they already offered a program at our school for that. Wow. And a lot of kids were doing it, and I was like, that sounds fun. And we just did it for 2 years, and it was great. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected you to be having, because you're so social.
Yeah.
I just never assume that anyone who's social has done any homeschooling ever.
You think, yeah. But it's funny because actually I grew up, half my friends were always homeschooled since I was little. I just grew up with that crowd. And so it's really funny, actually, like I've always kind of been a part of it. But even though I went to school, so I think that was just why I was always social, was I never thought of it any differently, I guess. Because the two kind of coincided for me. But yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like the songwriting started when you left school.
The songwriting started when I was about 10.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was always doing it, but then I started taking it seriously, like end of high school. I was like, okay, wait, I actually want to do this.
What was the high school course like actually helpful, or what was that experience like for you?
It was cool. I think it was junior and senior year. It wasn't anything special. It was just basically like we take all of our classes that were on campus online, and we go to like the tutoring center twice a week, and we'd see all of our friends, and it was very much so like we weren't at school from like 9 to 2 every day, basically. It was the only difference, but we'd still kind of be a part of everything. And it was nice that I had my best friend with me, so it wasn't like I was super alone or anything, but yeah.
That's so impressive. Okay, so tell me about the transition from being Annika Grace as an artist into Anni. That's it seems like Anni has 2 songs out on Spotify, Sedona and Run Into You. What caused that shift for you?
Yeah, so basically last year my mom passed away. And that was kind of like a very transformative moment of just being like, okay, what do I actually want to do with my life? And I kind of went through this weird phase of like, do I even want to do music? What do I want to do? It was a very like 6 months of just like kind of taking a break and thinking about things. And I realized a lot of the music I was releasing before was very pop. It was a lot of things I wrote in other sessions. It wasn't kind of like my poetry at home. That kind of, I guess, was where I wanted to start in the beginning, was I wanted to do poetry into songwriting. But I kind of got pushed into this like pop world, and I loved it, and I still love pop, but I kind of realized I wanted to be a little bit more, I guess you could say, vulnerable and a little bit more personable to just how I am now. I knew that I would be a little bit more passionate about that project if it was really coming from me and like my deepest thoughts and ideas, because there was a lot of shit going on. I was like, I just need to write about it. And then how Anni came about was my mom called me Anni since I was little. And all of my like super close friends have called me Anni. And so I kind of wanted this new project to be as personable as that and as vulnerable as that. And I felt like if I wanted that to be the case, then everyone should call me Anni, because it's kind of my deeper self, I guess.
You take that 6 months as a break. What would have been the other, like what were you deciding between?
I think That was where I was stuck, was because I really didn't know. I was like, do I go back to school? I also am really interested in homeopathy. I've been writing a book on poetry too.
Homeopathy?
I'm still going to publish. Homeopathy, yeah.
What is that?
It's like a natural medicine that my mom actually, she was a homeopath, and I still want to do it.
Okay.
But
I've heard homeopath before. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. But I was like, it's not my main passion. I was like, maybe I'll just do that for a little bit. I think it was more just deciding on if I wanted to take the artistic route or the business route, because I've interned a bunch at record labels. I was on that path, and I was like, maybe I just go the more traditional path and like get a job somewhere, stuff like that. But then I realized that my true passion was music. So
yeah, was there a specific day where you realized that?
Honestly, I was still performing. Like, everyone's like, oh, you didn't take a break. Like, you're still out there. And I call it a break, but I'm such like a type A personality that I wasn't actually taking, like, I was still doing stuff, but I think there were two moments. There's one where I decided to start going by Anni for my artist project, and I decided to keep going with it and just see what happens. And I asked everyone to send me this video saying, hi, Anni. And I put it all together as like a launch thing for it, of all their voices saying hi, Anni. And it just like clicked. And I was like, this does feel right. Like, I want to continue on to this. And then I had a show at my favorite, my top venue I ever wanted to perform at was Winston House. And my friend asked me to play with him there. And I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Like, let's go. And I did it. And it just was like maybe my favorite performance I've ever done. And I think on that stage, I was like, yeah, okay. I want to keep going. So yeah, I was like, this is worth it.
Yeah, like a sweet drug. Got that.
Yeah, it was
good
funny too,
high
it's like
one more time.
Like, yeah, it was weird. I think that the universe was like, you need to keep going, because like that was on my bucket list of things to do, and I was on this break, and I still got offered it, and I'm like, all right, well then, I think.
Yeah. If anything, that's the universe saying take more breaks, because then all your dreams come true.
Exactly. Just kind of let things go with the flow. I'm still just kind of going with the flow and seeing what happens, but...
Relax into it. You're talented enough. The world will find you.
Let the universe come to you. Just go with it.
So you keep referring to it as a break, but everyone else is saying that you're working, so why do you call it a break?
I think it was more of a mental break. I was like I wasn't thinking about it as like I need to keep working. It was more of I'm a little lost, but I'm still going to keep going. I was a break from, I guess, production. Like, I used to do sessions probably 5 times a week, which was a lot. I was writing for the artist. I was writing for myself. I was doing a ton, like, right before COVID, I would say, and then into COVID as well. And so I was doing a lot of sessions, and I think the big break for me that I noticed was that I wasn't doing as many sessions. I was like, I'm going to take a break and just write by myself in my room and like figure out what I want to do type of thing, instead of really like being out there in the industry, I guess you could say. Gotcha.
Okay, that makes sense. What were those sessions like for you? How long did you do that?
I did that for about 4 years, I want to say. I love them. I'm now doing sessions again. I have a new outlook on sessions in a way. I think before I would say yes to every session, and I just wanted to get out there. You know, like when you're young, you're very like, let's just go, which is great. And I think that I'm having that mindset again, but I'm a little bit more like, okay, what do I want out of the session? Like, I want to really make songs that are meaningful to me and meaningful to other artists too when we're writing them for their project. And I think my mindset on it's a little bit different than before, where before I was just like, all right, what are we writing today? Let's go type of thing. And now I'm a little bit more purposeful with them. So
yeah, I have so many questions about how are you getting in on all these sessions? Like what made you so popular songwriting wise?
I just think I was
just really good.
I just knew people. I think I've been a part of the scene since I was 15 in LA. And so just from there, like, I remember the first session I ever did was my friend Rain. And she was like, I just texted her. I was like, hey, can we do a session? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. And then from there, it just kind of started the progression. And I think everyone just really wants to get in rooms with people and meet people. And so I was kind of just reaching out, and then that turned into people starting to come to me too once you start putting yourself out there. And then also I have like a ton of friends who are really connected, and they just wanted to help. And so they would get me sessions, and it just kind of started this like spiral effect.
Cool. That's awesome. How long were they typically for you?
I think they vary. Like, I had a session yesterday that was 4 hours. I've had sessions that are 8 hours.
Yeah.
I've had sessions that are 1. So
wow.
It's like just kind of all over the place. But usually like the sweet spot's like 3 or 4 for me, I think. Because after 4 or 5, you get a little drained and you're like, all right, like, I need food. I need a little break. But yeah.
Okay. Going from being so shy as a kid to being able to like basically write poetry in public with people in the room seems like a really big transformation.
It was, yeah.
How did you break through that? Because there's always this awkwardness of, I don't want to say the idea because it's stupid. So like,
100%, yeah.
I imagine that just grows stronger the shyer you are, or the more like self-aware you become. It all just sounds stupid after a while. So like, what have you done to sort of train that out of you? Because the more you share, the easier it is for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird to think back on it because like there wasn't like a certain way, I guess, that I trained myself per se, but it was more just that I think as I grew, I got more comfortable with myself. And also I was part of different, like I went to LASC a bunch, which is Los Angeles Songwriters Collective, and I met a ton of people, and they did like song share nights and lyric nights and stuff, and that kind of got me to start doing that in public with people. I also was part of like Durango Songwriters Expo. You basically are in a room with professionals and like label execs, and you're sharing your song and you get critiqued. So that was like a big one where I got tested pretty fast, and I went there when I was 16. And I was shy then, but it's weird. It's different for me to like play the song on a speaker rather than like say, like play it out loud, I think. I don't know. There's something different to me about it because it's already done, you know, and it's like, I'm not going to fuck that up, you know?
Interesting. You feel more comfortable with that?
Yeah, than like singing it out loud, I think. I don't know. Back in the day, that's how I felt. Now I'm comfortable both ways, but that really tested me, I think, at Durango to kind of be in that environment that was very fast paced, and you go to about 7 of those a day. They're like panels. Yeah, I think that was really kind of the moment that kind of got me a little bit less shy.
Yeah, you're quite the enterprising individual from a very young age, it seems. That's a very long time to have taken it so seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to be so veteran at still such a young age. Another enterprise of yours is Saturdays at 7, which you've also been doing. How is that every Saturday that you're hosting
events? It is now. It's usually not, but it has become now every Saturday. So.
Gotcha. So that started like once a month in your backyard, right?
Yeah, it started about 4 years ago in my backyard with friends. It was like super small. I think slowly it became more and more a passion project of mine, and I realized like I was like, this is kind of fun. Like I love this. And then as it grew, it just, I think, organically grew into what it is now. So, yeah.
What is it like to manage so many shows? Booking artists feels like the most frustrating thing in the entire universe.
You'd be surprised. It's actually, I think because I'm also an artist, that I understand artists, that kind of makes it easier for me. Yeah. But I kind of take the very chill approach.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the type to, like, send this huge email, like, asking for all this stuff. Like when I book artists, I literally just DM them being like, do you want to play? Like I kind of take the more chill friend approach, which I think makes it easier. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I think as an artist, I understand artists, so I just kind of get the vibe and I'll kind of suss it out. And it's all just about connections and how you interact with people. And I think if you have like good intentions and you just love their music and want to book them, then they're going to be kind of easy to book, I think, usually.
That's so interesting. I am the long email person. You're talking, you're like,
well,
you're,
to be honest, I'm trying to be the long email person. I started doing that now because now there's a lot more shows and a lot more stuff to cover. So now I kind of have to, but the initial like outreach is just, hey, like, do you want to play? And then the long email I'm learning comes along.
Interesting.
After.
Okay. But I'm curious because I often come across as like so robotic that I have to like really couch the other. I would love to like have some sort of blend between these two styles, which it seems like you've really mastered the one and now you're learning the other. I'm just coming at it from the very opposite side of like, hi artist, my name is Connor Cherland. I was born in 1992 too.
This is my sign, social security number. Here you go, all of it.
Here's all my information. Here's my home address.
Let me know.
What value have you found in the long email, and what do you feel like are its limitations?
I find the value in the long email because it does just get everything out there. Like I'll send a show advance and it'll show everything that needs to be said before the show type of thing. So I think there's really a big value in that because it just gets all the information out there. Like I think it's needed. I do think working in the industry as well, like I've interned at So Far Sounds and I was the booking intern, so I had to do a lot of long emails and stuff. But what I did learn through the internship was keeping those relationships fun and less like a business interaction, I think. And music especially can be beneficial in most ways. I think there are some times where you do need to be, you know, very professional. But I did notice, like, with interacting with the artists, and like my boss would be the same way. We'd go out with artists after the show and like get to know them better and kind of treat them as, you know what I mean, as people, and not kind of almost as, how do I put it, like as artists. You treat them as friends, you know. So that's kind of where I think the long email comes in hand, but also the more casual approach is also great. So, but there's nothing really wrong with either, I think, honestly.
Did you learn to like take out artists and like treat them as friends? Is that something that So Far Sounds trained you in, or is that something you picked up intuitively?
I think it's just how I was. I think I'm very just, like, with Saturdays especially, I did it to make friends. And I was not looking at it as like, this is going to become a business. I looked at it as just like, I want to meet as many people as possible. And I loved, like, I've met most of my best friends now from Saturdays, which is crazy to think of now. As an artist myself, like, I just want to meet other artists and meet other people in music who have the same passion and the same creativity as me. Because then it's just kind of fun, because you can all talk about similar things and understand each other on that level and stuff like that. So
that's impressive. You've known a lot of things very intuitively. How many artists do you think that you were juggling like communications with in that time that you were working with So Far Sounds? Because you're probably booking like 60 or like plus acts at a time.
You're booking a lot. So my job was to actually go through submissions, which was a lot. Yeah. So I can't actually really even say a number because I don't know.
What did it feel like? 200, 100?
Like 100, 200, I would say. Like we had probably, I think, like, gosh, I want to say 8 shows a week at So Far, or 7. And then I would help the booker book them. So like he was the one running like the actual, I guess we'd do it together, but he would run like the Excel spreadsheet where it was like all of them in one. And then I would take care of like emailing them and making sure the emails went out and stuff like that. So I guess you would say maybe like 100 at one point, because you do send out emails like 2 weeks before a show. So
that is so much to remember.
It was fun though. I think that's where like my love of putting on shows started, to be honest, because I was like, this is awesome. Like, yeah. I don't know, it was just a really fun environment, and like the team at So Far was just so nice. They're the ones who helped me with Saturdays. Like, it was just kind of a great environment where there was never like too much stress, I think, and that was what made it really just fun.
Do you feel like that's where you got a lot of your musician contacts as well when you started Saturdays, just because you had known so many musicians already?
I would say probably, I think the first couple shows that we did at Saturdays were people that I met like through So Far, or through like people through So Far, stuff like that. It's either through that or just like growing up in LA. I knew a lot of artists who like wanted to perform, and I just wanted to like make a space that was like not an official like venue. I just wanted to make like a house party and be like, hey, all come together, let's all hang out, let's all play some songs. It's not pay to play. You don't have to bring like 20 people, because I always got those offers where it's like, you can bring 50 people and then you can play. And I really hated that in some ways. So I wanted to kind of create a space that was a fun environment that was, you know, welcoming to all. So
wow, impressive. I want to ask you more about Sedona, because it's so personal. What is it like to put out something so personal? Yeah, I feel like it would be incredibly cathartic for everyone in the close family, but yeah, it feels incredibly vulnerable to share with people who don't know you, really. So what has that experience been like for you?
It's been very therapeutic, I think, because I've always loved to write songs that are very personable, to the point where it's like, wow, you just said that. I love when other people put out stuff like that, because it makes me feel, in a way, more connected to them. And also, I don't know, I wanted to create a song that wasn't just for me, but was for anyone who lost a mom or lost someone in their life, who can really like play the song and feel like someone's, you know, like talking with them, I think. Because I know the song is very like, it's very poignant on my situation. When I was writing it and producing it, I also wanted it to be relatable to other people who've gone through something similar. And so the chorus is a little bit more vague and more, I guess, like relatable to other people. When I first wrote it, I was like, okay, I want to record it. I want to play it at the funeral, which I did. And I was like, I want my family to hear it first and all of that. And so it was good to do that. And I wrote it probably like a month after she passed. And then I didn't actually put it out, I think, until, gosh, when was it? Like October, and she passed in March. So I took some time to kind of sit with it too, because I knew it was going to be hard to release. it's weird. Everyone's like, how do you play it live? And I'm like, honestly, sometimes it's hard. Like, Patrick, my guitarist, plays this like outro afterwards for me to like kind of collect myself too. Because sometimes I'm like, because the first couple of times I played it, and even now, someone will cry in the audience. Like, without a doubt, I will see someone crying. I'll be like, I cannot look at you right now. Like, if you're crying, I'm going to cry. So it's kind of just balancing that out and kind of trying to, I guess, play it and still feel the emotions and connect with people in a really beautiful way, I think, in some ways. So
kudos. That takes a lot of it seems like you have such good self-esteem, such good self-concept to be able to, I mean, you've been doing such a vulnerable thing since you were a kid. Yeah, it's just impressive. When I was a kid, I could barely like stand anyone looking at me for a second. I'd be like, I just fall, just crushed. Like,
no, don't look at me.
Yeah, we're done. I get it. I'm trash. Two questions. We got Wayne Miller in common. I met him through John Buttrell, who helped produce my album. And then Wayne is producing your album with you. So is it an EP or an album that you're trying to put out this year?
It's kind of, I guess I would say an EP. I'm working towards an EP album, so I'm doing like singles first. And releasing them up probably until like December, and then I'll have an EP come out maybe January, like a collection of all of them. Maybe an album, we'll see. Right now it's an EP, but I'm working on a song with him right now, another one. And then I have 3 more almost done, I think. So we're starting to kind of get the pace going. So we'll see how many we come up with. So
that's exciting. You've known Wayne for a really long time. How did you two meet?
Yeah, we met at LASC. I want to say when I was 18 or 19. Very long time ago, because I started working with a producer through Durango, Richard Harris, and he was the first producer I ever worked with, and he was great. And then I started working with him, and then I think he told me about LASC, and then I went to LASC, and I was like, oh, Wayne's super cool. When he was producing my friend Bailey Baum's music, and I was like, oh, I like the stuff he's making. And then he did most of my Annika Grace project, actually. I think he did the first couple songs that came out on that. So it's been a wild ride.
Cool. What has the experience been for this new album?
It's been fun. We pulled on a new songwriter for this next song coming out, and that's been amazing. She's super great. And yeah, it's just been great to kind of start fresh, I think, because I have a new outlook on like what the sound is that I want. I'm a little bit older, so like I kind of, I guess, understand more about production, and it's fun because I think it's a little bit more hands-on instead of me just bringing a song and him producing it. We're actually really like working together and making it happen. So it's fun.
And then one last question about placements, because this is a thing that I have no idea about, and I read that you got in MTV Real World Atlanta. The dream. That is the teenage dream, is getting on the Real World. What has that process been like for you? Like, how did you find people to help you place things?
So actually at Durango Songwriters Expo, they have a sync expo.
This is a great ad for Durango.
I know. I'm like, here we go, guys. I haven't been in a couple years, but they're great. Basically, it's like an invite-only sync group, and there's like 30 songwriters who come and we get to pitch our songs. And that was kind of like my first, I guess, learning experience about sync. And that's where I met a lot of the connections now that I have for it. That one specifically, honestly, I think I performed it at a show that I was actually about to not perform at. That's the funny part. I was not feeling well, and I was supposed to perform at this little venue in downtown LA. I think they came to the show, and it was just a super acoustic set. Me and Patrick were just singing some songs. There was like maybe 10 people there. But this one sync person was in the crowd, and she loved the song, and then placed it within the month. I think it kind of taught me to always go to the shows, even if you're not feeling too hot. Still go to them.
This is great COVID advice.
Oh, okay, not if you're actors. I was in like a mental state of like, okay, I don't want to perform tonight, I'm feeling down type of thing. But you never know who's going to be in the audience. So go to the shows, even when there's 10 people. You never know. Yeah. But yeah, I think those two ways, because then the Durango kind of introduced me to how sync works. And then when she approached me, I kind of already knew. Yeah, from there, I also work with a company called Bad Owl Music. And they're an all-female run company in Venice Beach, and they're amazing. And they do sync placements as well. They got me and my friend Jackfruit's duet song on 12 Dates of Christmas on HBO.
Ooh.
Which was also really fun. We love the reality shows. So just stuff like that. You just kind of got to meet people and put yourself out there, yeah.
Congratulations. The Real World. Okay, I'm going to ask you some canned questions I ask everybody. What's some either best music advice you've received about your career or worst music advice you've received about your career.
The worst music advice I've ever received is to always write songs that will sell. At a young age, I was taught that, and I think that was really toxic because any song can sell. I think it can, regardless of if it's commercial pop or not. I think we're seeing that more and more these days too, with people who are writing songs that are just beautiful and completely out of genre, and people love them still. So I think that was a big one for me, to kind of just do what felt right to me and not what I thought others might like.
Unmusic related, could be music related, but doesn't have to be. Any books or authors that have meant a lot to you in the last couple of years?
There's a poetry book that I read that I absolutely loved. I actually got Flux tattooed on my arm. Flux, which means a constant change in motion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that book by Orion, I loved that poetry book, and that really kind of helped me through a lot. I think that one stands out. Also, I'm reading 101 essays. What's the book title? It's like 101 essays that everyone should read. And that book's amazing. I highly recommend everybody read that. It's really long. It's very dense.
Yeah, sounds like everyone should read it.
I think everyone should. Like, it's great. I think that's what the title is. It's 101 essays something. I've been reading that one. And then my personal favorite, I just finished it, is The Opposite of Loneliness. And that one is... I made me cry. It's amazing. It's like a bunch of short stories from this woman who actually passed away. And it was her graduation speech. And so she, I guess it went viral before she passed away, her graduation speech, and everyone read it. And then the rest of it is like her other stories she wrote. I think she went to Yale, I think. And so she was going to be this amazing writer. And it's just like the most chilling book, because it's almost like she predicted her death. And she didn't know, like, she was a car accident. But like her writing is very interesting, and it kind of makes you think. So
was the opposite of loneliness belonging?
Yeah. I think it was like her essay itself was talking about how we as a society, like, her biggest fear of leaving college was not having that community of people. And we always like to have people around. And it's kind of about that feeling of wherever you are, it's nice to know that you kind of have a circle of people, even if you don't know them. Like, she was saying, like, I like to know that there's someone else in the library, that there's someone else around, that we have this little circle of people. And it was a very relatable essay, I think. And then the rest of them are just kind of about life. Like, she writes about her mom, her dad, her brother, her relationships, like just random stuff. But the way she puts it is very relatable, and I really loved it. So
sounds great. Those are really good book recommendations. Well done.
I was like trying to think. I'm like, oh, because I love reading, but I always, when someone asks me this, I'm like, which one did I read recently? But those, I think, are some good ones for sure.
Any role models, people you look up to, people who you try to emulate?
Yeah, a big role model for me is my dad, to be honest. He started up a company when he was 24 and has built it from the ground up, and he's such like a big entrepreneur that he's like a big one for me, because it's just kind of like we're very similar, and he kind of leads me on for all that to help me out. But I think him, and then I think outside of him would maybe be... So I volunteer with this company called Cheetah Conservation Fund, and it's helping cheetahs in Namibia. And Lori Marker has always been kind of a big one for me as a big role model of what she's just done to help other animals. I think that's really big. Yeah, I'd say her too.
You do a lot of things.
That one's like a side. I haven't done it in a minute, but I've been working with them since I was little. I was kind of like, I sponsored a cheetah when I was like 8 or 9. I saved up my allowance, and I somehow got like pushed into their company because like they're like, this 8-year-old did this? Like, what? And so I kind of became a big helper for them because I loved it so much. And so I would like run the 5Ks with them and all that, and it was super fun. So, but I'd say that was a big one for me growing up, was her as a role model too. So
that's so cool. What was her name again?
Lori Marker.
Lori Marker. Okay, well, great. And last question, anything that we should be looking forward to? Obviously the EP coming out December, like all the songs being out in December, New Year, it all coming together. And anything else that we should be looking forward to?
I think I'm having a song come out end of August. It's called Dinner Party. We just finished the cover for it like 2 days ago, so it'll be super fun. And that's coming out. And then, yeah, we just have Saturdays every Saturday of this month, which is going to be crazy. So if you guys want to come to a show, yeah, those are like the big 2 things happening.
Wonderful. Well, Anni, thank you so much for your time. You are incredibly impressive. And yeah, I would love to have the bandwidth of you at any age, whether it be your 8-year-old self or your now self.
Thank you.
Well, sweet. I'm going to go ahead and clap us out. thank you kindly for listening to the podcast. It's really just an excuse for me to meet amazing people and learn from them. So if you like this episode, feel free to take a look at some of the other artists I've talked to, or let me know if there's someone in your life who's a musician that you'd like me to talk to next. You can learn more about my music at connorcherland.com or find me on Instagram or Spotify under Connor Cherland, ConnerCherland. All right, see ya.